La Trappe Witte Trappist.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got quite a special one here today. It is from the La Trappe Brewery, or the Trappist brewers that are La Trappe. And I'm saying it's special, and the reason it's special is because this is the only genuine Trappist Witte beer in the world as of 2021. Now, this stuff is from a really good brewery. I find their stuff very, very consistent. I don't think I've had a bad one from them. I've tried nearly all of theirs, apart from they do a bock, which I don't think I've tried, but I've tried the blonde, the double, the triple, the quadruple, the pur, which is an organic blonde or light ale, and what was the other one? Is it the Isibad or something like that? I think it's called. Tried that as well, and they've all been really nice. And I don't think, from what I can remember, there has been a bad one from them. Now, they go back to 1889, I think it is. So they've got a bit of a history. It's a bit of a potted history. They are a Trappist brewer, a genuine Trappist brewer. They're based in a place called Berkel en Schot, which is in a region called Tilburg, which is in the Netherlands. And they have, in the past, contract brewed or handed out contracts to brew their beer to none other than AB InBev. Can you imagine that? That is, well, that would not be something that I would, if I was a Trappist brewer, out of all the brewers to choose, not them. I can see why they've done it though, because they, at the time, they were, I think, based in Belgium, so not too far away. They also contracted out some of their stuff to the Bavaria Brewery, which again is another Dutch brewer. And this drew the ire from the Trappist Association, or whatever it's called, the organisation that regulates the Trappist brewers, and they said that doing that goes against the principles of Trappist brewing, i.e. being very austere, not going commercial, only using the profits that they make from the beer to plough back into the abbey or help charitable causes. So they were denied that right to put the official Trappist product on the side of the bottle. I think that was resolved in 2005. They appealed, and there was a lengthy inquiry. They looked at everything and decided to allow them to display that again, which I think is pretty good on their part. But they brew their beers in the Koningshoeven Brewery, which is literally translated, I think it translates to King's Farm, not the King's Hooves, because Hoeven, or Hoven, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, Hoeven I think it is. It can be translated as farm or hooves, I think. Now, I'm going on second-hand information here that was given to me by a Dutch subscriber and fellow bass player called Jay. So Jay, if I'm getting this wrong, please put in the comments that I'm getting it wrong. But I think that's what it is. It's the King's Farm. I think that's how it's pronounced. And the actual abbey is called Our Lady of de Koningshoeven, which again is where the name of the brewery comes from. They are a Trappist order, and they have all the values of Trappist monks, i.e. they go around in silence, they live quite an austere life, and they do a lot of charity work as well, which is admirable coming from a brewer. Anyway, a little bit about the style. Witte beer is a wheat beer, unique to Belgium. Now, obviously, the Germans have their Weizen or Weiss beer. It has certain similarities with the Belgian stuff, but there are differences. Similarities are, it's a yeast-based beer, i.e. that most of the flavour comes from the yeast that goes in here. They use wheat as an adjunct in this beer, and I think that's as far as it goes. Obviously the carbonation, they do share that as well. They're highly carbonated beers, but that's where the similarities end. The colour's different, the flavour is certainly different, and there are two unique styles, even though they do share certain flavour characteristics. Now, you will tend to get banana and clove flavours in both. The Belgian stuff, there's more of an emphasis put on the clove stuff. There's more spice in this as well. You tend to get coriander, you tend to get orange peel, and you do get other spices like white pepper. Whereas with the German stuff, you don't have as many flavours because you're not allowed to put the adjuncts in, such as the spice that you get in this, and also you have a different colour to this as well. This is very light beer, hence the name. Wit in Flemish means white, and that's why this is called wit beer, because when it's poured out, if you look at it, it does look like a very, very light beer. German Weizen or Weiss beer will have a much more yellow, orange type colour to it. They do share the similarities of having quite large heads. That again, that is another part of the style, but you shouldn't treat the two as a variation on a theme. They are different in flavour. So bearing all that in mind, let's get it open. Let's see what's going on. Before we get it open, I'll just give you a quick rundown on what it is. It's 5.5%. It's 330ml in the volume. There's Percy. He's smelt a Trappist beer. What are you doing, Percy? He just barges in here. He just doesn't give a shit. Walks in here like a fucking Clint Eastwood walking into a bar. Don't you, Percy? He's just been fed and all, so he's got no excuse. He must have smelt the beer. Anyway, did you just fart? His farts sound. Have you ever seen the doors on the old Star Trek where they go? That's what his farts sound like. I'm not lifting him up because he'll only fart again. He ran upstairs the other day, and on every step he ran up, he farted. I did not get downwind of him after that. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, 330ml bottle, 5.5%. The ingredients are pretty standard: water, malt, barley, hops, and yeast. There is the addition of glucose syrup in this. They do say that that is there. Now, I have mixed opinions on glucose syrup. You tend to get it in quite a lot of macro brewed beers, and it isn't good quality glucose syrup. In the Belgian beers, they seem to get it right. Duvel uses glucose syrup, and if you've ever tasted Duvel, it's not a bad beer. It's quite nice. So I'm hoping they're going to get this right. Now, I have said in the past that the Trappe are one of the most consistent brewers, certainly Trappist brewers, I have come across. Their beers are all consistently good. They're not, well, some of them are 10 out of 10s, but they're usually up around the top, and that is a characteristic of a lot, almost all, I'd say, Trappist brewers. They don't brew much, but what they do brew, it is absolutely amazing. My favourite Trappist brewer, I may be a bit biased here, but they only do one beer. It's the Tint Meadow stuff. I urge you to try some of that stuff. It is amazing. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. We're concentrating on this beer. So let's get it open and see what's going on. Okie dokie. I've got to be really careful here because these beers are quite lively and they tend to fizz up. And this one I'm going to have to open really gingerly, because if I open it too quick, it's going to go everywhere. And there you go. Disaster averted. I always say spilt beer is the equivalent of a little child losing a balloon. There you go. It's got a W on the top for Wit. And as I mentioned, Wit means white. You will see now why that is. I'm drinking it out of a Spanish wheat beer brewer's glass, La Virgin. I don't remember that being very good, to be honest. They're a craft brewer. And I've reviewed that, I think, when I first started reviewing beer. Is it 2 years ago? Nearly 2 years. How time flies when you're locked down. Now, I've probably dropped a bollock here because I put it into a small glass and there's a lot left and I want to get the yeast in there because it is going to taste different. I don't want to pour it into another glass because that's just going to affect it. But you can sort of see why. Well, you can't actually because the yeast hasn't gone in. I'm hoping this head will dissipate. But you see what I mean by the carbonation. Can you see that? That's a characteristic of both Weizen and Wit beer. Some people call this white beer, Wit beer, wheat beer, whatever you want to call it. Now, I was talking about AB InBev earlier. Speaking of them, a very loose connection is the Hoegaarden brand of Belgian Wit beer. If you're new to the style, then I'd say check it out, but it ain't that great. But you have the original owner of the Hoegaarden brewery, Pierre Kellis, to thank for reviving this style of beer because it had all but gone out of, it had gone out of production, and he revived the style. He was a Belgian milkman who decided to re-brew the style, and we are where we are now. Hoegaarden is not a good one, and don't get me started on that Blue Moon shit. Don't try that, or don't drink it and think you're getting a taste of Belgium. It's fucking vile stuff. It really is horrible stuff. I don't like it. There it is in the glass. I haven't got everything into the glass, so I'm probably doing it a bit of a disservice. So I'm going to have a taste of it, then pour the rest in. I'll probably get 2 different types of flavour. Let me just get the aroma first. Yeah, that's exactly what I'd be expecting from a Belgian Wit. Banana, more clove than banana. Lots of spice on there as well, coriander. There's a peppery type aroma too there. And a bready style aroma too. Quite nice. Let me see if I can get any more in there. Right, that's as far as I'm going to get in there. Let's get it down the hatch. Bottoms up. Ah, that's nice. That is a really nice example of a Belgian Wit. However, the body is a little bit weak on that, and I'm assuming that's because all of the sediment hasn't gone in there. So let's get it in and try it again. Now, as you can see, that's probably gone a lot cloudier now. That's a little darker than most Belgian Wit beers. Some of the others have got a very light coloured body on it. This is a little bit darker than most, but I'm going to dive in again. That's lovely. That's really nice. The flavours on this are subtle. Now, normally on the Belgian Wit beers, you do get varying degrees of size of flavour and body. The ones that stand out for me are the Fort Lapin Wit beer. That's one of the best I've tried. The Chimay is another good Wit beer as well. The Blanche de Brussels is quite a nice one. It's quite sweet. So again, if you're not too familiar with the banana and clove flavour, it does take a little bit of getting used to. maybe try that first, or even the Hogarden stuff. This has got the flavours there. It's got the banana, it's got the clove, it's got the spice, it's got everything you'd ask for in a Belgian Wit. However, the body is a bit lighter than what I'm used to, but what it lacks in the body, it makes up for in drinkability. That is super smooth despite all the carbonation, and it goes down really nicely. Yeah, nice subtle flavours. That's really nice. And the flavours, as I say, they're not overpowering. Some Wit beers, they have got massive flavours to them. The Fault Lapin stuff, it's big on clove, big on the spices. The banana is slightly restrained, but it is there. And it's nice. It's a very nice drink to savour. This, not in the style of a Trappist beer, is very refreshing and super drinkable as well. Nice subtle flavours of coriander and clove on that. And then you've got some white pepper. Subtle, again, very subtle white pepper. And that's all coming from the yeast. They're the esters and phenols that come from the yeast. And it's really nice, I have to say. But I wouldn't have expected anything less from La Trappe. They're a very consistent brewer, as in they brew consistently good beers. Now, they're all, from what I can gather, apart from the bock that they do, they are all Belgian style beers, and they do them really well. As good, in some cases a lot better than the Belgian brewers themselves. Now, obviously they're a Trappist brewer. They don't do many styles of beer, and they're from the Netherlands, again, which is, I think they are the only Trappist brewer from the Netherlands, and they're one of the few Trappist brewers that are outside of Belgium. Most of the Trappist brewers are based in Belgium, but you've got one in the United States, I think that's the Spencer Brewery, one in the United Kingdom, Tint Meadow, mentioned them earlier. You've got one in the Netherlands, and I think there is one somewhere else whose location escapes me. But the rest are based in Belgium. But this is a good one, and it's a credit to them because I wouldn't have expected anything less. They're a really consistent brewer. And the only thing I will say, if you're expecting big wheat beer, or Wit beer I should say, flavours, you're not going to get that. These are toned down. But I could drink this all day. It's that good. It's a really nice, drinkable beer that doesn't really sacrifice the flavour, it just tones it down. And it's really good. I have to say there is absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Another winner from La Trappe. So what is the verdict on La Trappe Wit Trappist? Really good. And I wouldn't have expected anything less because La Trappe are a consistently good brewer. And this is another one to their credit. Now, this will be different to a lot of the Belgian Wit beers. If you do like that style, I don't think it's as popular as German wheat beer or Weiss beer, but if you do like this style, this one is going to be a little bit toned down. But what it loses in flavour, it makes up for, more than makes up for, I should say, in drinkability. It's very easy to drink. It's very light on the palate. It's quite refreshing, and it's one of them beers. In fact, it's one of the few Wit beers that I think I could drink all day, simply because it's not as obtrusive. A lot of these Belgian Wit beers have got big flavours, as I've said. The Fault Lapin, which is one of my favourites. They're another good brewer from Belgium. They're from Bruges, they are. But they do a Wit beer, and it's one of the best I've tasted because the flavours are big. I mean, they're really big. But it's a quality beer. It really is nice. However, I don't think I could drink it all day. This stuff, on the other hand, it's going down very nicely indeed. In fact, I'm not going to be a pig. I could just quite easily finish that glass now. In fact, do you know what? For the first time in the nearly 1,000 reviews that I've done, I'm going to finish this on camera. It's that good. It's that drinkable. Lovely. Do you know what? I could fill up another one of them and drink it just as quick. That for me, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Now you may say after all that, why am I not giving it a 10? I'm not giving it a 10 because I think there's better Trappist. Well, there's no better Trappist Wit beer because this is one of the only ones. I think Chimay do one, which I think is better than this because it's got a little bit more flavour to it. But that's where it's getting its kudos for the drinkability. I'm at pains. I'm trying to be subjective on here because what people want in a certain beer may differ from what other people want in a certain beer. I think that's got a happy medium of the drinkability and the flavour. The flavours are toned down, I will say that, but it just goes down really nicely, as you can see. So that's why it's getting a 9 out of 10. It's not getting a 10 out of 10 because there are more flavoursome wheat beers, and for me, even though that is super drinkable and yes, I could drink quite a lot of it, I do like a little bit more flavour in my Wit beer, but that's just a minor gripe. That's still fantastic. I would definitely buy this again. If I was in Belgium and I saw this, I would seriously consider drinking quite a few of them. It's a shame they only do 330ml. You know, it's only 5.5%. Well, actually, it's not, because when you're drinking half pints, I don't know, it's psychological. Some people tend to drink quicker when they're drinking half pints than they do with pint bottles or 500ml bottles. Personally, I don't really. It doesn't really register with me. If it's good beer, it's going to get fucking drunk no matter how big or how small the container is that it's in. But some people have said to me in the past that that is a factor. But that's a great beer. That is one to definitely get on your list and pick it up if you can, because it's great. Don't buy it for the flavour, buy it for the drinkability. So if you're going to buy it, buy a few of them, whack them in the fridge. I know we're on the arse end of summer now. We're, what are we, the 4th? Is it the 4th? I think it's the 4th of September today. It is the 4th because I had my car MOT today. It passed. Hurrah. A few minors, but yeah. Took it to a Volvo dealer. And yeah, they pointed out fucking MOTs that dealerships do. They will point out the minimal thing. There was something hanging in the window and they put that on an advisory. It's like, fuck off. Anyway, that's that. 9 out of 10, recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.